Laila Majnu is a 2018 film starring Avinash Tiwari and Tripti Dimri, directed by Sajid Ali, screenplay by Imtiaz Ali and Sajid Ali, co-produced by Ekta Kapoor, Shobha Kapoor and Preeti Ali. It is one of the best films that I've watched recently. I saw the movie after a friend recommended it. I hadn't seen the trailer or any clips, so I went in with zero expectations and I saw this movie go from a light-hearted romance to this deep philosophical journey. I honestly rewatched the movie to appreciate what I just saw and let all those emotions sink in. The actors did a wonderful job portraying the intense emotional and philosophical scenes, and this movie is surely worth the hype. Before I go on and on appreciating the movie, let's dive into the philosophical aspects of the movie and what I think it represents. My interpretation is open to debate as it's my personal take on what I think the scenes mean, and it might not be what someone else thinks it represents, and that's completely alright. The beauty I find in movies, literature, philosophy, and even in everyday life situations is the difference in perspectives of different people. One might see the glass half full, another might see it as half empty, and none is false. Before getting started, let's break down the video into segments. First, I'm going to talk about non duality, Advait, Vahadat al Wajud. Then, we are going to start decoding the scenes of the movie, starting with the hillside scene, window scene, restaurant scene, Kez and Leila's reunion, talk about divorce, cancelled plan of running away, sunset scene, the fight scene, and then we'll decode the song Hocus Pocus and Hafiz Hafiz, and we'll move on to the famous ending scene. So let's get started. Non dualism is the philosophy that is woven into the narrative. Before we get into how non dualism is shown in the movie, let's discuss in brief about non dualism, Advait, and Vahadat al Wajud. Non dualism is a philosophical and spiritual concept that asserts the fundamental oneness of existence. It suggests that distinctions we make, such as between self and other, or subject and object, are all an illusion. This perspective is prominent in various Eastern philosophies, particularly in Advait Vedanta, Buddhism, Sufism, and Taoism. In simpler terms, it means that God and us are one entity. Only God exists and we are one with God. There is only one consciousness. Let's discuss in brief about Advait. The word Advait is a combination of two words, a and Dvait. A, prefix indicating negation or absence, translates to not or non. Dvait, derived from dva, meaning two, and it, meaning ness or state, translates to duality or two-ness. So the word advait literally means non-duality or not two. The term Advait originates from ancient Sanskrit, especially from the Vedic tradition. In the Upanishads, the concept of Advait or non duality emerges as a central theme. Advait Vedanta is a philosophical tradition that explores the nature of reality and the self. They talk about Brahman, the ultimate reality, and Atman, the individual self, and how Atman is not separate from Brahman but is a spark of that ultimate reality. They also talk about Maya. The world we experience is an illusion or Maya, hiding the true nature of reality. Our ignorance or avidya of the true nature and the ultimate reality is the root cause of our suffering. Here's a short clip of Swami Sarvpriyananda, which I'll also link in the description to understand how our Atman is one with Brahman.
Funny little example. In the Pacific Ocean, imagine a little wave is born and it comes up. The wave is growing bigger and bigger and rushing ahead and it feels good. Oh, I'm growing bigger. Look at all these other waves. What fun. But very soon, the fun changes into a little problem arises. That wave is much bigger than me. I'm a little jealous of that wave. I wish I could be as big as that wave. And look at these tiny little waves. They're no good. Inferiority complex, superiority complex. I'm bigger, much bigger than the bubbles. They're no good. They just go like that. Problems, difference. I am this much and this world is so different. They're all different from me, all these waves. There are some waves who are nice to me, they're my friends. There's other waves who are not so nice to me, they're my enemies. They're different from me. And then the real terror comes. Oh my God, what's that? And the wave next to him says, buddy, that's the shore. That's California, rushing up towards us. The shore, that's death. That's doom. And the wave thinks, oh my God, I'm going to die. Now a Vedantic wave comes along and says, there is something called water. Yeah, what's that? Well, this water is immortal. It doesn't die like us, waves. Really. And this water is all pervading. It's in all waves. There is nothing greater than this water, so the water doesn't have a problem of a superiority complex, but it's also the same in all waves, so it doesn't have a problem of inferiority complex. And it's one with everything. So the wave says, good for water, but what about me? I'm going to die. And then the Vedantic wave tells him, you are water. Look at yourself. Look at yourself. The top of you is water. In the middle is water. In the bottom is water. The sides are water. In fact, look around you. All you see is water. A wave is a name and a form and an action given to water. The moment the wave realizes this, it becomes one with the ocean. The little form will go ahead and dash against the shores and disappear into surf, but it doesn't care anymore. For it becomes infinite. And from that point of view, all are same to it. We are one infinite existence, now limited to a particular body and mind. But if we analyze, as the Upanishad will show us, that I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I am this existence consciousness bliss shining through the body and mind. And then I find that existence consciousness bliss is eternal. It doesn't die. It isn't born with the birth of the body. It doesn't die with the death of the body. It doesn't get old. It doesn't get sick. It is the same in the president of the United States. It's the same in the homeless person. It's the same in the multi-billionaire. It's the same in the person on welfare. It's exactly the same. And you are one with it. You are that. That Tvam Asi, the Upanishad tells us. You are that. You are not this particular little wave. You are not this particular little person you thought yourself to be. Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so. That person is there. It goes on like the wave, rushing towards the shore. Yes, but now you're no longer terrified. Now you're no longer afraid.
Let's talk about Wadat al-Wujud. Wadat al-Wujud is a central concept in Sufism. Wadat al-Wujud, or unity of being, is the idea that only God exists and all creation is a manifestation of God's being. Although having roots in different religions and having different paths, Sufi non-dualism shares similarities with Advait Vedanta. Both emphasizes the ultimate reality of single unified existence. Both consider the distinction between subject and object or individual selves to be an illusion. Both recognize the interconnectedness and oneness of all beings. So, non duality can be said as a concept or practice wherein the boundary between God and individual is blurred. Everything is one entity, everything is one consciousness. Now, let's see how the narrative of non duality is shown in the movie. Hillside scene. In the scene where Leila and Kez are sitting on a hillside, Kez, looking back at the mountain, says, "एक दिन निकल जाऊंगा, देख लूंगा क्या है उस पार." This scene is a foreshadowing of what is to come in the later part of the movie. This scene shows us the desire that Kez had to explore beyond the limits of the society. His desire to transcend beyond the ordinary, to find something meaningful, makes him question if something greater was present behind that mountain, which will liberate him from the cycle of pleasure and pain, life and death, and the constraints of the society. Metaphorically, this scene represents the beginning stage of every spiritual seeker who wants to find more about himself, the world around, and about God. It is the desire to know about the truth which lies hidden from human eyes, to rise above the senses and explore what lies beyond. The window scene. Another scene which hinted at the upcoming events and philosophical turns was the window scene. After returning home for his father's funeral, Kez is seen standing by the window. He sees Leila outside only to find out it was an illusion. This scene hints at the mental, psychological condition of Kez, and metaphorically, the scene could represent the stage in the life of a spiritual seeker who knows the truth behind the illusion or Maya, but couldn't grasp or hold on to the truth for long. The restaurant scene. After returning back to his hometown, Kez is seen having lunch with his friends. Leila happens to be in the same restaurant, but Kez couldn't muster up the courage to go and talk to her. He steals a look at her through the mirror and, unable to handle his emotions, rushes out of the restaurant. The emotions portrayed by the artist are of overwhelm and a tinge of fear. Spiritually, this scene stands parallel to the life of a spiritual seeker who isn't fully ready to be united with God. Their love for divine God is immense. Still, the tinge of fear of the unknown and the grand infinite form of God overwhelms the seeker, and as a result, the seeker experiences emotional breakdowns. In Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna shows Arjun his divine or universal form or Vishvarupa form, Arjun was in awe and scared of what he saw, and trembling he bowed down in front of Krishna. The majestic form of Krishna inspired a feeling of amazement, love, insignificance, and humility within Arjun. While this might not be entirely relevant to this scene, but we can understand from this example from Bhagavad Gita the inner turmoil of a spiritual seeker who experienced closeness with God. Kez, as a lover, experiences the same turmoil of the spiritual seeker as Leela is his God. Reunion of Kez and Leela. Moving to the scene when Kez gets united with Leela. On seeing Leela, without saying anything, Kez just melts to the ground. The peace on his face of finally uniting with his lover alludes to the unification of one with God. After the stage wherein the seeker experiences turmoil and fear of the unknown, he finally decides to let go and unite with God. He rises above the Maya and experiences pure bliss and becomes one with that. He is now the one consciousness that exists. He is one with God. Within him is God. There is nothing outside the one that truly exists. Talk about divorce, cancel plan of running away, sunset scene. When Leela informed Kez about her divorce, we see that Kez isn't very happy with the situation. Their plan of running away got cancelled, and Leela assured him that after divorce, everything will fall into place and they can live together once everything gets settled. To which Kez says, दुनिया है, दुनियादारी होती है, divorce है, time है. Even after Leela reassuring him, an airy feeling stays in the scene and we find Kez staring at the wall clock. We see the truth in Kez's fears when Leela's husband dies in a car crash and Leela has to be present in his funeral, and their plans of being together are postponed further. During the sunset scene, we find Kez saying, इंतज़ार, लंबा इंतज़ार, बस थोड़ा और इंतज़ार, डिवोर्स का इंतज़ार, इद्दत का इंतज़ार, सामने खड़ी है, फिर भी इंतज़ार, बस इंतज़ार. ये इंतज़ार पागल कर देगा मुझे. Metaphorically, these scenes show us how illusion or Maya separates us from the things right in front of us. The illusion of time leads us to postpone things to some other time, and we might or might not do the postponed thing. But if we hadn't considered time in the first place, then we would have just done the thing at the very moment when the desire first came up. But the illusion of time separates us from our desires and separates us from God as well. We tend to think that bhakti and God realization is a thing for our old age and not for now, and we rather focus on some other thing. Or we postpone our goals for some other time, or postpone taking responsibility and taking care of our loved ones. We take it for granted that we have time and we can do it some other time, which is an illusion. Another illusion talked about is dunya and dunyadari. The way the society functions and the expectation the society puts on an individual strips one of their individuality and their inner compass. The pressure to follow the society becomes so that doing something against the norm is seen as wrong and as a threat for the society. Society and its expectations often distracts individual from going down the path of God realization. The fight scene. From one perspective, we can say that during his time at the farmhouse, the mental condition of Kez seems to have been deteriorating. He endlessly talked to himself and stayed away from society. When he accidentally disrupted the namaz of locals, he is seen saying, From another perspective, we can say that the deterioration of Kair's mental condition was not what it seemed on the surface. While for us he seemed like a madman, but spiritually he had transcended beyond the illusion of Maya, where he was one with God, his lover. He was free of the limitations of society and was connected with something greater, which consumed him to the degree where he didn't want to stay connected with the society. He had found bliss, love, and peace, which kept him engaged in things which, at looking from the outside, appeared as a mental dysfunction. Let's decode the songs Hafiz Hafiz and Hocus Pocus. The translation of the Kashmiri poem Hocus Pocus is as follows: Who are you and who am I? Then tell us, who is the creator that permeates through both you and I? Each day I feed my senses, body with the food of worldly attachment and material love. For when the breath that I take in reaches the point of complete purification, it feels like my mind is bathing in the water of divine love. Then I know I am like that sandalwood which is pasted for divine fragrance, symbolic of individual divinity. I realize that I am indeed divine. This poem starts with questioning one's existence and then questions who is God who flows through us all. It goes on to address the issue of worldly attachments, which separates us from the Creator, then touches upon the concept that conscious breathing or meditation and other practices purifies our mind and we feel love and peace like water flowing in our minds. When we reach such a state of love and peace, we realize that we are divine. We are one with the Creator. Let's discuss the song Hafiz Hafiz. मुझे फिक्र नहीं है, मुझे अकल नहीं, मैं असल में तू हूँ, तेरी नकल नहीं. The line, मुझे फिक्र नहीं है, talks about the stage in the life of the spiritual seeker when he is free from the constraints of the society and doesn't care about what people might think or say. मुझे अकल नहीं talks about the point in the life of a seeker when he is free from the limitations of the mind, when he is free from his rational and logical brain and can finally see beyond the illusions of rationality and connect with the higher emotional and spiritual realms. मैं असल में तू हूँ तेरी नकल नहीं is the realization that both the lover and the loved is one entity. Subject and object is one. God and human is one. There is no duality. There is no separation. God exists in everything. जग में जग सा होकर रह तू, सुनता रह बस कुछ ना कह तू, बातें पत्थर ताने तोहमत, हो हम सा होकर हंस के सह तू. Live in the world becoming like the world. Just keep listening. Don't say anything. Talk, stones, quips and taunts. Be like me and bear with them all with the smile. This is like a warning to the spiritual seeker to blend in with the society and keep your spiritual insights to yourself or share them with people who understand, because if you stand out too much and voice your spiritual views, you might get ostracized from the society. People might not understand you and might label you as crazy and throw stones at you. And if this happens, one should just bear with it with a smile, as these people are ignorant of the truth, and fighting with them or trying to make them understand or prove it to them is a losing battle. बदल गया भला क्यों जहाँ तेरा, यहाँ वहाँ हर ओर से घिरा, ख़त्म हुआ अक्ल का सफ़र तेरा, संभल ज़रा सुनसान रास्ता, जहर भरा आदमी भटक रहा, भाग कहाँ निकलेगा ये बता. Why did your world change? You are surrounded from all sides. Your journey of brains is over. Be careful, it's a deserted path. Man full of poison is lurking here. Tell me where you'll run away. When on a spiritual path, you'll find yourself to have changed, and the world around you starts changing as well. The things and people you resonated with don't seem to understand you now. The people who don't understand might even be all around you, and you will find yourself not resonating to their logic and reason anymore. You have found something magical, something beyond mind and reason. The spiritual path can be a lonely path, as not many people are on a spiritual journey and are engrossed with the world and worldly duties. The illusion has created fear in man, and fear has led man to be evil and cruel. Had every human understood the truth that everything is one, everything is God, then world would have operated peacefully and people would have respected and empathized with one another. But because of Maya, people are lost and are filled with hate. And you, seeker of God, you have nowhere to run. You are surrounded by the Maya too. So, for the spiritual seeker, it becomes necessary to take comfort within himself, within the truth that he has found, and cut through the illusion that separates us all. The ending scene.
इन तस्वीरों में इस गाने मेरी सांसों में मुझ में तुझ में हर जगह बस एक ही नाम लाइला 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 इल्लल्लाह लाइला आगे क्या पढ़ रहे हो लाइला लाइला जो खा होगा अच्छा बस ये समझ रहे तुम नहीं समझ रहे मैं समझने की जरूरत भी नहीं है.
In this scene, Kez sees Leela in everything, including himself. This is the concept of seeing the truth, the union of Brahman with Atman, the union with God, the union of lover with his beloved, the ultimate realization that there exists only one reality, that is God. Kez experiences the realization of God in all. Ruthvi Seth for Medium writes, in Laila Majnu, Kez keeps saying Laila and La ilaha illallah, which means there is no other deity but the one God. There is much similarity between Laila's name and the Shahada, Laila and La ilaha, that they almost merge. The merging of the name Laila and the Shahada La ilaha seems to signify the union of God and individual. Laila and God are one, and everything is Laila, everything is God. There is only one consciousness. Kez had transcended beyond the illusion of time and space and knows that Laila existed within him. Everything is Laila, everything is God. This is the concept of non-dualism that the movie represents. Once again, all the interpretations made are subjective and you are open to your own interpretations. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. Bye-bye.